Hey folks, Jackdaw here. Welcome to your complete guide on everything you need to know before Dragon Age the Veilguard. Today we are going to cover the entire Dragon Age timeline extensively, breaking down the story in a clear and digestible way. And while we're following the release order of each game and media, do expect some context-driven jumps in the timeline just to ensure that everything makes sense for every kind of player. And so whether you're jumping into the series for the first time, you're a hardcore fan, or just simply need a refresher with all the lore details just before the Veilguard, this recap is gonna set you up perfectly for what is to come.
I laugh at a world full of stupid humans who ignore the Blight's evil and abandon their vigilance to chase mortal goals. Remember, it is up to you to destroy the Blight. Pray not for someone else to destroy it. It will always nip at your heels.
In Dragon Age Origins, we are introduced to the world of Thedas with a key teaching from the kingdom's dominant religion, the Chantry. It explains the Blight, a devastating event where Darkspawn rise from underground in massive hordes, led by an archdemon, a corrupted old god in the form of a dragon. The chant teaches that the Blight was a punishment sent from the Maker for 7 TEVINTER magisters, known as the Magister Sidereal, who physically entered the Fade, the Maker's magical realm, seeking divine power. Tempted by the old gods who promised them unimaginable power if they opened the unreachable gate, the mages believed their gods lived in the Fade and followed their whispers rather than the chant's doctrine. And upon reaching the Golden City, the Maker's throne, they found the Maker himself, and their intrusion turned the city black, committing the second sin. This act corrupted the mages, turning them into the first Darkspawn, and started the first Blight, which ravaged Thedas for over a century, devastating several dwarven kingdoms. The Grey Wardens were formed to combat Darkspawn and archdemons, halting Blights by drinking Darkspawn blood and delivering the final blow to the archdemon. Dragon Age Origins focuses on the 5th Blight in 930 Dragon, set in Ferelden. But regardless of your character's background, you meet Duncan, a Grey Warden who recruits you into the Order. After joining, you travel to Ostagar in southern Ferelden, where the kingdom prepares for battle against the Darkspawn. There, you meet Alistair, a fellow Grey Warden, and together you're sent into the Kokori Wilds to gather Darkspawn blood and retrieve ancient scrolls, treaties that can summon aid from across Thedas. In the wilds, you encounter Morrigan, a witch who leads you to her mother, Flemeth, the Witch of the Wilds. After retrieving the scrolls, you return to Ostagar to prepare for battle. However, during the fight, Loghain, one of Ferelden's most prominent generals, betrays King Cailan by withdrawing his forces, leading to the king's death and the Grey Wardens being decimated. You and Alistair are saved by Flemeth and begin your journey to then stop the Blight. Your goal is to unite the Ferelden factions, dwarves, elves, mages, even werewolves, to combat the 5th Blight. With Morrigan now part of your group, you set off to gather allies, starting with Lovering, where you meet Leliana, a former bard turned devout follower of the Maker, and Sten, a Qunari warrior imprisoned for his crimes. The Qunari themselves are grey, normally horned humanoids with a strict religion and social structure that dictates every aspect of their lives. They plan one day to invade Thedas to spread the Qun's teachings, though more on that one in Dragon Age 2. Your first stop is Redcliffe, where you learn that Alistair is actually the illegitimate son of King Marek, meaning that the former King Cailan was actually his half-brother. The town is under siege by demons due to the wild magic of Connor, son of Arl Eamon, who unwittingly unleashed them while trying to cure his poisoned father. After defeating the demons, you seek a cure for Eamon, leading you to the Urn of Sacred Ashes, a relic with legendary healing powers. With Eamon restored, he pledges his support and calls for a Landsmeet to challenge Logain's rule. Next is the Circle of Magi, which is plagued by an uprising led by Uldred, a powerful mage who, after a failed alliance with Logain, loses control to demons and abominations. You decide whether to purge the tower entirely or save as many mages as possible, influencing whether mages or Templars join your cause. Here, Wynne, a wise older mage, can join your party, and notably you encounter Cullen Rutherford, a Templar who later becomes significant in follow-up games. Then you head to the Brazilian Forest, where you seek the aid of the Dalish elves, who are being attacked by werewolves. Zafrian, the Dalish leader, tasks you with killing Witherthang, the werewolf leader, to end their wretched curse. However, you learn that Zafrian actually created the curse centuries ago. You must decide whether to lift the curse, siding with the elves or the werewolves. Then you seek the aid of the dwarves in Orzammar, the dwarven capital. Here a power struggle rages between Balin, a ruthless but progressive prince, and Harrowmont, a traditionalist noble. After choosing a side, you delve into the deep roads to find the Anvil of the Void, an ancient artifact that can actually create golems. Along the way, Ogren, a silly goofball dwarf warrior, joins your party. Whether you preserve or destroy the anvil, Orzammar eventually pledges its aid. After examining Flemeth's black grimoire, Morrigan finds out that her mother plans to possess her very body to extend her own life. Flemeth has achieved effective immortality by repeatedly passing her spirit into her daughters when they come of age. To prevent this, Morrigan asks the Warden to kill Flemeth and end her cycle of possession. More on that one in Dragon Age 2. Returning to Denerim, you must rally support among the nobility before the Landsmeet. Along the way, you encounter Zevran, an Antivan Crow assassin sent by Logain, who can be convinced to join you. After freeing Queen Honora, who's been imprisoned by her father, Logain's ally, Al-How, you confront Logain at the Landsmeet. And key decisions before the Landsmeet include hardening Alistair, arranging political marriages with Honora, or proposing to her yourself. And then at the Landsmeet, after defeating Logain, you can kill him or induct him into the Grey Wardens. If Alistair duels Logain, he will straight up kill him, and Honora will refuse to marry him. Inducting Logain also results in Alistair leaving or being executed. Killing Logain allows either Alistair, Honora, or both to rule, all depending on your choices. Either way, the political strife in Ferelden is sorted for the moment as the final battle against the Archdemon approaches. You meet Ryodan, a senior Grey Warden, who reveals that killing the Archdemon will result in the death of the Grey Warden, who strikes the final blow, as the Archdemon's essence would simply transfer into the Warden since the two are blighted. However, Morrigan offers an alternative, something that Flemeth taught her: performing a dark ritual that would conceive a child with one of the Wardens, allowing the Archdemon's essence to then be absorbed by the unborn child, sparing the Warden's life. And you can choose to either accept or reject this offer, or allow another Warden like Logain or Alistair to perform this ritual instead. Regardless of your decision, you lead your forces that you've rallied into the final battle. The Darkspawn lay siege to Denerim, and after a fierce fight, you confront the Archdemon atop Fort Draken. The Archdemon is slain, ending the 5th Blight, but at the cost of the Warden who dealt the killing blow, unless Morrigan's ritual was performed. With the Blight ended, a new ruler is crowned, and Ferelden begins its long road to recovery, with Morrigan slipping through the cracks, not wanting to be found. Now, in the prequel book, Dragon Age: The Stolen Throne, set in the very first year of the Dragon Age, 900, Rebel Queen Moira has been assassinated by traitor nobles, leaving her son, Marek, who is Alistair's biological father, on the run from the Orlesian occupation of Ferelden. Marek, fleeing for his life, joins forces with Logain, who, at this point, was a leader of Ferelden outlaws. The pair seek refuge in the perilous Kokori Wilds, where they encounter Flemeth, our mysterious Witch of the Wilds. Flemeth agrees to lead them through the wilds, Wilds, but only if Marek makes a secret promise to relinquish the throne once his sons are of age and to meet with one of Flemeth's daughters to awaken the ancient dragons. She also warns him about a future blight and Logain's eventual betrayal. Marek, Logain and Marek's betrothed, Rowan Gurin, successfully build and lead the rebel forces, capturing the town of Gwaran. Shale, a rock golem created to fight during the First Blight, is seen under the control of Wilhelm when Marek and Logain meet the main rebel camp. Their success is marred when Catril, an elf who is secretly a spy for the Orlesian king Megran, deceives Marek into a disastrous attack on West Hill. Overcome with guilt, Catril helps Marek, Logain and Rowan escape through the perilous deep roads. They ally with a dwarven warband and return to Gwaran, rallying the people to revolt against the Orlesians. The rebellion gains momentum, leading to widespread support for Marek and the eventual downfall of Megran's regime. The novel concludes with Marek's victory and ascension to the throne of Ferelden after a long siege of Denerim. Mother Alice recounts to Marek and Rowan's son, Kaelin, how Marek became a beloved king, Logain a powerful lord with a family, and Rowan having passed away. With Orlais abandoning its claim on Ferelden, the future looked bright for the newly crowned King Marek and his realm. In the follow-up novel, Dragon Age the Calling, set approximately 10 years later in 910 Dragon, King Marek, now of course on the throne of Ferelden, is approached by the Grey Wardens who had spent a good couple of years in exile, as they shared urgent news. One of their members, Bregan, had been captured by Darkspawn in the Deep Roads and might actually reveal the location of the Old Gods. Fearing that this could lead to a catastrophic blight, Marek agrees to guide the Grey Wardens into the Deep Roads, despite his personal grief over his late wife Rowan and his strained relationship with his son Kaelin. He joins forces with a group of Grey Wardens, including Duncan, Fiona, the Avar Kel Ap Morgan, and the Silent Sister Eartha. As Marek and the Grey Wardens journey through the Deep Roads, they confront numerous danger and face heavy losses. They discover that Bregan has allied with the Architect, a vile Darkspawn leader and actually, more importantly, one of the original 7 blighted magisters who usurped the heavens and brought forth the first blight onto Thedas. More than just chantry propaganda, the Architect seeked to destroy the Old Gods to free his kind from their dark influence, potentially ending all future blights in the process. The Architect's plan involved spreading the Darkspawn taint across Thedas to actually force all of mankind into a Darkspawn-like existence. Ooh, no thanks. Fighting against him, the group suffer greatly from the taint, with only Duncan remaining unaffected due to a magical dagger. Betrayal from the first enchanter Ramil complicates their mission. In the end, Marek, Fiona and Duncan narrowly escape, while Bregan, Genevieve and Ramil are killed. The Architect and Uther manage to flee, and Fiona, now free of the taint, returns to Denerim with Duncan, where she bears Marek an illegitimate son, Alistair, before leaving to continue her search for the Architect. Duncan, appointed second in command of the Grey Wardens in Ferelden, pledges to protect Alistair and keep him safe, while Marek's kingdom stabilises with the Warden's return. 20 years after Dragon Age the Calling in 931 Dragon, Dragon Age Awakening picks up 6 months after the events of Dragon Age Origins, and depending on your Warden's outcome, you may take on the role of a brand new Warden or a returning Grey Warden commander, responsible for rebuilding the Order and managing Vigil's Keep. Despite defeating the Archdemon, new threats emerge, with intelligent Darkspawn led by the Architect from Dragon Age the Calling and a powerful broodmother called the Mother. The Mother herself has gone mad from the absence of the Old God's calling, leading a revolt of intelligent Darkspawn against the Architect, and also plotting the destruction of the Grey Wardens. The journey begins by reclaiming Vigil's Keep from a Darkspawn attack. With help from new allies, Mary, Anders, and Ogren. After securing the keep, you recruit new Grey Wardens, including Nathaniel Howe, Valana, Sigrun, and Justice. Eventually, you confront the Architect, who wants to end the Blight by, firstly, destroying the corrupted Mother. The Architect now proposes a new plan, using Grey Warden blood to grant Darkspawn self-control, intelligence, and free will, instead of spreading the taint across Thedas like envisioned in Dragon Age: The Calling. As Darkspawn armies advance, you must choose between saving the city of Amaranthine or defending Vigil's Keep. You then travel to Drake's Fall to confront both the Mother and the Architect. Now, if you side with the Architect, you'll learn that it's his failed attempt to make Femiel, the old god of the Fifth Blight, into an intelligent Darkspawn that actually caused the Fifth Blight. The Architect will aid you in battle, keeping his promise. However, if you oppose the Architect, you will have to kill him and Eartha. Ultimately, you defeat the Mother, preserve the Order, and see the outcomes of your choices, detailing the fate of Vigil's Keep, Amaranthine, and your companions. In the Stone Prisoner DLC for Origins, the Warden acquires a control rod for a golem named Shale in Honleaf. Shale was mentioned in Dragon Age: The Stolen Throne, and you can free Shale to join the fight against the Fifth Blight. During a mission to rescue the Paragon Branca, the Warden learns about Shale's past from Caridin if Shale is present, revealing Shale's true identity as Shayla, a dwarven warrior. If the Warden survives the Battle of Denerim, Shale plans to seek a cure in Tevinter, potentially accompanied by Wynne or the Warden if they so choose. In the DLC, Leliana's Song, set in 921 Dragon, you play as Leliana, who, along with Marjolaine, Tug, and Sketch, is sent to Denerim to create chaos for Orlesian political gain. Their mission involves theft and assassination to distract from Marjolaine's true goal of planting a secret document. When Leliana uncovers the plot, Marjolaine betrays her, leading to her capture and torture. After escaping with the help of new allies, Leliana confronts and defeats Marjolaine and Commander Raleigh, returning to the Chantry with a renewed sense of purpose alone. In the Golems of AMGARRAK DLC, the Warden Commander is summoned to Orzammar by Jerick Dace to locate his missing brother, Brogan, and the failed expedition led by scholar Darian Olmec into AMGARRAK Taig. Seeking the secrets of ancient golem construction for House Dace, Jerick and the Warden uncover Darian's remains and a troubling diary entry. Jerick, recognizing the danger of the Forge's experiments, destroys it at Brogan's request. The journey culminates in a battle against the Harvester, a monster like a golem made from corpses and powered by blood magic, responsible for the expedition's demise. But it is revealed that the Harvester was not alone, with more fleeting into the Deep Roads. What a lovely thought. In the final DLC for Origins, the Witch Hunt, set in 931 Dragon, a year after the Battle of Denerim and 6 months after Awakening's events, the Warden Commander seeks out Morrigan, who has reappeared in Ferelden. After tracking her to the Dragonborn Wastes, the Warden discovers Morrigan preparing to use an elven mirror, known as an Alluvian, to leave Ferelden. Morrigan warns of an impending great change and hints that Flemeth poses a significant threat. Depending on the Warden's actions and choices, Morrigan either takes them through the Alluvian to see their child Kieran, she leaves a mysterious gift, or you can stab her and she, fatally wounded, falls into the portal, leaving a initially very ominous ending for Morrigan when this DLC came out. Next up, unlike its predecessor, Dragon Age 2, or Dragon Age Exodus as a lot of us like to call it, doesn't directly continue the story of the Blight. Instead, it follows a new protagonist called Hawk and explores a different region of Thedas, primarily the city of Kirkwall in the Free Marches. The story immediately unfolds as a retrospective told by Varric Tethras, our favourite storytelling chest-haired dwarf and one of Hawk's companions, who is being interrogated by Cassandra Pendergast, a member of the Seekers of Truth. The game begins in 930 Dragon, shortly after the Battle of Ostagar from Dragon Age Origins. Hawk and their family, Leandra, their mother, Bethany, a mage sister, and Carver, a warrior brother, flee from their home in Lovering as the Darkspawn ravage the land. They are joined by Aveline, a warrior, and her Templar husband, Wesley. During their escape, a Darkspawn attack results in the death of one of Hawk's siblings. Which one depends on your player's class choice. The group is miraculously saved by Flemeth, our Witch of the Wilds, who took the form of a dragon. In exchange for safe passage, Flemeth asks them to deliver an amulet to the Dalish elves in the Free Marches. The survivors then make their way to Kirkwall, known as the City of Chains due to its history of slavery. Upon arriving, Hawk and their family find Kirkwall overwhelmed by refugees and are unable to gain entry. However, with the help of Gamlen, Hawk's uncle, they are allowed into the city. To repay Gamlen and secure a future, Hawk must work for either a mercenary group or smugglers for a year. And so, a year later, in 931 Dragon, news spreads of the hero of Ferelden ending the Fifth Blight, and Bartrand Tethras, a dwarf merchant, plans an expedition into the Deep Roads, a network of ancient underground tunnels. Hawk sees this as an opportunity for wealth and influence, but they need 50 sovereigns to join the venture. Varric, who is Bartrand's younger brother, helps Hawk secure a spot on the expedition, which sets the stage for the rest of the game. During this time, Hawk explores Kirkwall, becoming entangled in various local conflicts. These include aiding the Templars in their pursuit of runaway mages, navigating the tense situation with the Qunari, led by an imposing leader known as the Arashok, and dealing with slavers, blood mages, and other unsavory elements. Along the way, Hawk gathers a group of companions. Isabella, a flirtatious, roguish pirate with a mysterious past. Fenris, a brooding elven warrior who escaped slavery from the Tevinter Imperium. Merrill, a Dalish elf mage who is ostracized for her study of blood magic. Anders, a former Grey Warden mage whose radical views on the Circle of Magi bring dire consequences later on. Sebastian, a Prince of Starkhaven and Chantry brother on a quest for vengeance after the murder of his family. As promised, Hawk and their companions visit the Dalish elves in Sundermount to deliver Flemeth's amulet. With the help of the Dalish keeper, Methari, they perform a ritual that frees Flemeth, allowing her to cheat death, a plot connected to Dragon Age Origins if the Warden, quote, killed Flemeth at the behest of Morrigan. After securing the funds and resources, Hawk embarks on this expedition. In the Deep Roads, they discover a strange idol made of red lyrium, a dangerous and corruptive substance that has the Blight. This discovery drives Bartrand mad, leading him to betray the group and trap them underground. Although Hawk and their companions manage to escape, the expedition has severe consequences. Hawk's sibling, if they join the journey, becomes tainted by the Darkspawn, and depending on your choices, they either die or are forced into becoming a Grey Warden. Following the expedition, Hawk's fortune rises, allowing them to reclaim their family's nobility. However, tension in Kirkwall escalates in 935 Dragon, particularly with the Qunari who continue to occupy the city's docks. The situation deteriorates when Sist Patrice, a zealous member of the Chantry, orchestrates events to provoke a conflict between the Qunari and the people of Kirkwall. Eventually, the situation reaches a boiling point. Arashok, the Qunari leader, grows increasingly frustrated with the city's corruption and launches a full assault, taking over the Viscount's Keep. The Qunari demand the return of the Tome of Coulson, a sacred text stolen by Isabella. Depending on Hawk's actions, Isabella either returns the tome or abandons the group, leading to a final confrontation with the Arashok. Hawk's victory over Arashok earns them the title of Champion of Kirkwall. In 937 Dragon, tensions between the mages and Templars reach a breaking point. Meredith Stannard, the Knight Commander of Kirkwall, becomes increasingly authoritarian, while First Enchanter Orsino tries to defend the mages from her harsh rule. Meanwhile, Anders, driven by his desire to free mages from the oppression of the Circle, makes a drastic decision. He destroys the Chantry with a massive explosion, killing Grand Cleric Elthena and sparking all-out war. In response, Meredith invokes the Right of Annulment, ordering the destruction of the entire Circle of Magi in Kirkwall. Hawk is forced to choose a side in the conflict, either supporting the Mages or the Templars. The final battle sees both Mages and Templars pushed to their limits, with some Mages resorting to forbidden blood magic, and Meredith herself succumbing to madness due to the influence of her red lyrium-infused sword. Hawk ultimately defeats Meredith, kind of, but the victory comes at a great cost. Kirkwall is left in chaos, and the Mage-Templar War ignites across all of Thedas. In the aftermath, Hawk's fate really depends on the choices they made throughout the game. Regardless, they eventually leave Kirkwall, and their companions may or may not follow. The game ends with Cassandra and Leliana, agents of the Divine, failing to locate both Hawk and the hero of Ferelden, who are seen as crucial to restoring peace in Thedas. In the Legacy DLC, set around 936-937 Dragon, Hawk is targeted by a criminal cartel seeking the blood of the Hawk. To stop the relentless attacks, Hawk must leave Kirkwall and journey to an ancient Grey Warden prison, uncovering a dark secret about their own lineage along the way, as their father used blood magic to lock away an ancient evil. The adventure takes place within the prison, where Hawk battles Darkspawn, corrupted dwarves, and encounters two wardens, Larius and Janica, who each have their own conflicting goals. Hawk must choose whom to support, leading to a confrontation with Corypheus, an ancient TEVINTER magister responsible for the attacks. Corypheus reveals himself as one of the very first Darkspawn, and a key figure in the First Blight, just like the Architect. Trapped in the prison for centuries, Corypheus manipulates those around him using blight magic, including Janica, into now helping him escape. As Hawk breaks the seals their father created using blood magic that kept Corypheus imprisoned, they face a final battle against the powerful mage. Despite being defeated, Corypheus managed to subtly influence either Larius or Janica, depending on Hawk's choices, leaving the ending ambiguous at the time, as Corypheus escaped his prison by possessing one of the wardens. The Exalted March was a cancelled expansion for Dragon Age 2, which intended to bridge the gap between Legacy and the next entry of the Dragon Age series, Dragon Age Inquisition. The story would have focused on the aftermath of Kirkwall's chaotic ending, where red lyrium-infested Templars, led by Corypheus, took control of the city. Hawk would have been forced to gather new allies, such as Isabella's fleet and the Qunari, to combat this new threat, making tough choices that would have strained relationships. The expansion was also set to conclude Varric's narrative arc with a heroic death, as his story came full circle from Cassandra's interrogation. The expansion planned to explore new areas in Thedas and also develop familiar characters further, including a redeemed Anders and a war-ready Varric. However, due to the transition to the Frostbite engine and the development of Inquisition, the expansion was cancelled. Following that, in the comic series Dragon Age The Silent Grove, King Alistair of Ferelden in BioWare's codified canon, where he is king, he embarks on a perilous journey with pirate Isabella and dwarf Varric Tethras to uncover the fate of his missing father, King Marek, set in 938 Dragon. Their quest begins in Antiva, where they infiltrate the Crow's archive and discover clues leading them to the notorious Velabanchel prison. After rescuing a mysterious prisoner who once shared a cell with King Marek, they learn that Marek was freed by a daughter of Flemeth named Yavanna, and is now hiding in the Telari swamps. Determined to find his father, Alistair and his companions venture into the dangerous swamp, where they confront Yavanna and her dragons. Yavanna reveals that Marek was saved by Flemeth years ago and was bound by a mysterious pact in the Stolen Throne, leading him to the Silent Grove, a sanctuary for dragons. Despite Yavanna's attempts to dissuade Alistair, the group is ambushed by Prince Claudio Vallisti, who seeks the power of the Silent Grove for his master Aurelian Titus. Claudio captures Alistair, but Isabella and Varric launch a daring rescue, culminating in Isabella's brutal duel with Claudio. Although Claudio is slain, Alistair's hopes of learning more about his father seem dashed until Yavanna resurrects Claudio's spirit, revealing Titus as the mastermind behind Marek's disappearance. Yavanna leads Alistair into the depths of the Silent Grove, where she explains the true purpose of the Dragon's Sanctuary and urges him to awaken the last of the great dragons to fulfill Marek's ancient pact. Alistair rejects her offer, realizing that the Witches of the Wild's manipulations have caused immense suffering for Ferelden. And so, in a decisive moment, Alistair kills Yavanna, symbolically ending her influence over his family. With their mission far from over, Alistair, Isabella and Varric set off to confront Aurelian Titus, determined to uncover the full truth and seek justice for Marek. In Dragon Age Those Who Speak, Alistair, Isabella and Varric continue their quest, attending a party in the TEVINTER city of Ventus, where they confront the powerful Magister Aurelian Titus. A battle ensues, but they manage to capture one of Titus's men, who directs them to Serharan. On their way, they are captured by Qunari and are taken to a war camp, where they encounter Sten from Dragon Age Origins, now the ARASHOK, who advises them to abandon their pursuit of Titus. Isabella faces harsh interrogation by a Qunari named Rasan, revealing her troubled past with the Qunari and her involvement in slave trading. Meanwhile, Alistair and Varric endure weeks of imprisonment until Isabella stages a daring escape. The trio battles their way out, with Isabella confronting Rasan and ultimately sparing her life. Alistair, after a tense fight with Sten, convinces the ARASHOK to join forces against Titus. As they set sail towards Titus's stronghold in Serharan, now accompanied by two Qunari dreadnoughts, Sten reveals that Titus seeks Alistair because the blood of the dragons runs through his veins. The group prepares for a final confrontation, determined to uncover the full truth behind Titus's plan and Alistair's heritage. And in the final graphic novel, Dragon Age Until We Sleep, the group, alongside the Qunari, led by Sten, assault Aurelian Titus's fortress. Varric infiltrates the stronghold, discovering Mayveris Talani and the captive King Marek, who is being used by Titus to gain power through an ancient artifact, the Magrawlin. Titus collects Marek's blood to harness dragonfire from the Therin bloodline, but Varric disrupts the ritual, shattering the vessel. The group then finds themselves all trapped in the Fade, where they face nightmarish scenarios crafted by Titus. Varric and Maeve help Isabella escape her Qunari nightmare and resist their own temptations. They eventually locate Alistair and Marek, who are living in a dream where Marek is king and Alistair never became a Grey Warden. Marek, however, is reluctant to leave this false reality, and in this final confrontation, Marek beheads Titus in the Fade, but chooses to remain there, content with his dream world. Alistair tries to convince his father to return to the real world, but upon returning, realizes that Marek's body is beyond saving. Alistair ultimately decides to destroy the Magrawlin, freeing Marek from his suffering and reducing his body to dust. After the mission, the group part ways, with Alistair returning to Ferelden, determined to be a good king. In the novel Dragon Age Asunder, set in 940 Dragon, 3 years into the Mage-Templar conflict, the story begins with Cole, a ghostly figure trapped in the Circle's tower, struggling with his existence. Haunted by the memory of a mage girl he killed, Cole is drawn into the larger conflict between the Mages and Templars. The narrative expands to reveal political corruption involving characters like the Divine, Templar Evangeline, and Liliana and Wynne, as well as Rhys, a spirit medium, and his allies to undertake a perilous journey to confront dark forces and uncover a conspiracy that threatens both factions. The group's journey leads them to Adamant Fortress, where they confront Faramond, a mage whose research on the Rite of Tranquility was corrupted by demonic influence. The revelation sparks a heated debate between Adrian, who wants to preserve the research to end the rite, and Evangeline, who argues for its destruction to prevent misuse. They decide to present their findings to the Divine, who summons reforming the College of Magi, but imposes harsh conditions, including Faramund's return to tranquility. As the conclave begins with hopes for reform, Lord Seeker Lambert, aiming to preserve Chantry control, orchestrates an attack. He accuses Rhys of murder and orders a violent crackdown on the conclave, resulting in many deaths and imprisonments. Wynne and Evangeline, escaping into the sewers, join forces with Cole and allies like Leliana and Shale to rescue Rhys and other imprisoned mages. Lambert catches up, leading to a fatal confrontation where Evangeline is mortally wounded and Lambert escapes, vowing to prevent mage freedom. A month later, tensions rise as Rhys, now leader of the Aquitarians, confronts Adrian, who admits her guilt in Faramund's death but shows no remorse. The Grand Enchanter reconvenes the conclave, and despite fierce debate, the motion for mage independence passes with Rhys's reluctant vote. Rhys and Evangeline, now lovers, mourn Wynne's death and prepare for further conflict as Lambert plans an assault on Andor's Reach and declares the Nevarran Accord void. The story closes with Cole, now empowered, confronting Lambert, ready for revenge. Apologies for this one, but it has some bits of plot that set up Inquisition, kind of. In the animated film Dragon Age Dawn of the Seeker, set in 922 Dragon, Cassandra Pendergast, a young, determined Seeker, battles to uncover and stop a conspiracy aimed at destroying Orlais' religious order. After an attack on a blood mage cult, Cassandra and her mentor, Byron, rescue a captured elven mage, Vexus, only to discover a deeper plot involving high-ranking officials within the Chantry. They uncover a plan to disrupt the Divine's 10-year gathering with dragons and just chaos. As the plot unfolds, Cassandra exposes the treachery, defeats the cult leader, Frennick, and thwarts the assault, leading to Cassandra being celebrated as the hero of Orlais as she becomes the right hand of the Divine. In the novel Dragon Age: The Masked Empire, set around 940 Dragon, Empress Selene seeks the Divine's intervention to ease tensions between mages and Templars, but political rival Gaspard continues to undermine her. At a ball, Gaspard attempts to provoke conflict, but Selene deflects the challenge by having her champion, Sir Michel, choose a symbolic duel using a feather. This backfires, alienating some nobles, but during a hunting trip, Gaspard tries to force a marriage alliance with Selene, but she refuses, leading to a tense confrontation. As unrest grows among the elves in Halam Sharal, Selene discreetly sends Briala, her elven spymaster and lover, to assassinate Lord Mensuri. However, Gaspard's staged play further incites rumours against Selene, prompting her to march on Halam Sharal. Briala, unaware of these developments, completes her mission but is captured. She later escapes with the help of Felisan, a Dalish mage. Meanwhile, Selene's forces are devastated in a surprise attack by Gaspard, forcing her and Sir Michel to flee. They eventually join forces with Briala and seek help from the Dalish elves, who prove uncooperative and summon a demon for knowledge, resulting in chaos. The group learns of the Alluvians, ancient portals that can provide strategic advantages. However, Michel accidentally frees the demon Imshael, who massacres the Dalish. Gaspard's forces catch up, leading to a tense standoff in the Alluvian network. Both parties form a fragile truce until betrayal from Duke Remache prompts further conflict. As tensions peak, Selene and Gaspard agree to duel for the throne, but Briala uses her leverage over Michel to force him to yield, leading to Selene's loss of the kingdom. Briala, now disillusioned with Selene, activates the Alluvians for her own purposes and seizes control of the network. In the aftermath, Gaspard moves to consolidate power while Selene regains control of Halam Sharal. Michel embarks on a quest to find the demon Imshael, and the elven characters Briala, Miris, and Felisan go their separate ways. Felisan, however, meets a grim fate when he refuses to reveal the Alluvian activation phrase to a mysterious entity in the Fade. His last words mention how Briala's rebellious actions reminded him of the individual responsible for his death. Dun dun dun. In the novel Dragon Age: Last Last Flight, set in 941 Dragon, Elven Mage Valya and a group of mages seek refuge with the Grey Wardens at Weishaupt in the Anderfels to escape the Mage Templar War. With rebel Templars rampaging and rebel mages forming an army at Andor's Reach, Weishaupt became a sanctuary for neutral mages and Templars alike. Upon arrival, Valya is tasked with researching unusual warden behaviour and talking darkspawn, leading her to discover a lyrium-laced map and a hidden journal detailing the final days of the elven blood mage warden Isaiah and her brother Garahel, who ended the Fourth Blight. Through Isaiah's journal, Valya learns about the warden's struggle during the Exalted Age, including defending Antiva City and securing alliances. Isaiah was ordered to put the majestic griffins through a joining ritual, which ultimately led to their demise and corruption. As Garahel and the wardens fought to end the Fourth Blight, Isaiah regretted condemning the griffins and secretly worked to cleanse the taint from griffin hatchings, sacrificing her own health to protect the next generation of these noble creatures. In the present day of 941 Dragon, driven by her research, Valya locates the hidden clutch of griffin eggs Isaiah had preserved. With a small group of companions, Valya reanimates the eggs, which hatch free of the taint. One hatching resembles Garahel's griffin, Crocky Tail, bringing hope that the griffins will rise again under the Grey Warden's care. Leading to Dragon Age Inquisition, which picks up the story a decade after the events in Kirkwall, now set in 941 Dragon, where the Mage Templar War has erupted across Thedas. The chaos caused by the war serves as the perfect opportunity for darker forces to strike. The game begins with the Divine organising the Conclave, a peace summit between the mages and Templars to resolve their violent conflict. However, just like the planned Dragon Age 2 DLC, Exalted March, an explosion annihilates everyone present except for one survivor, who mysteriously gains a mark on their hand linked to a massive tear in the sky called the Breach. The Breach is a rift between Thedas and the Fade, threatening to unleash demons into the world. The survivor, who later becomes the Inquisitor, is found by Cassandra Pendergast, Leliana, and Solas. Together, they established the Inquisition, an organization dedicated to restoring order and closing the Breach. The Inquisitor's first major task is to either recruit the mages or Templars to help close the Breach. However, they discover that Corypheus, the ancient Darkspawn Magister introduced in DA2's Legacy DLC, is behind the disaster and is corrupting both factions. Despite this, the Inquisition managed to close the Breach and establish itself with one of the factions. Cullen serves as the Inquisition's military commander, while Leliana is the spy master. Cassandra Pendergast and Varric join the party from Dragon Age 2, and new companions include Solas, an elven apostate mage with a deep knowledge of the Fade, Blackwall, a Grey Warden from the Free Marches, Serra, an elven thief and member of the secretive Friends of Red Jenny, the Iron Bull, a Qunari spy leading the Bull's charges mercenaries, Vivienne, an enchanter from the Orlesian Imperial Court, Dorian Pavis, a mage from TEVINTER, and Cole, introduced in Asunder, a spirit of compassion. Josephine Montillier, an Antivan noblewoman, serves as the Inquisition's ambassador. After the Breach is closed, Corypheus launches a surprise attack on the Inquisition's base in Haven, aided by either the corrupted mages or Templars, whichever side the Inquisition didn't ally with. Although Haven is destroyed, Solas reveals the location of Skyhold, a mountainous fortress that becomes the new headquarters for the Inquisition. The Inquisitor is declared the leader of the Inquisition, solidifying their role in the fight against Corypheus. Corypheus reveals that when he and the other Magisters entered the Golden City, it was already blackened. He insisted that it wasn't the Seven Magisters who brought darkness into the world, as the Chantry would have you believe. They merely discovered the darkness. The corruption they found consumed them, and as they claimed it as their own, it seeped into their very beings, thus releasing the Blight, and the first Darkspawn respawn after the Veil was created. In their quest to defeat him, the Inquisitor meets Hawk and a Grey Warden ally, which can be Stroud, Alistair, or Loghain, depending on your world state. This particular Grey Warden reveals that all Wardens right now are hearing the calling, a signal that their end is near. And so in their desperation, a TEVINTER Magister named ERRANT, working for Corypheus, manipulates the Wardens into summoning a demon army to attack the Deep Roads and eliminate the 2 remaining Old Gods. The Inquisition intervenes, defeating ERRANT's plan, and recovered memories in the Fade reveal that the Inquisitor gained the mark, the tear on their hand that allows them to close Fade rifts, by attempting to stop Corypheus' ritual. During the ritual in the Conclave, Corypheus used an elven orb, blood magic, and bound Grey Wardens, as well as the Divine, as a sacrifice. When the Inquisitor grabbed the orb, an explosion occurred, giving them the mark, and sending both the Inquisitor and the Divine into the Fade physically. This also explains how the Inquisitor was the sole survivor of the event. Exiting the Fade results in, presumably, the death of either Hawk or the Warden ally, and the remaining Wardens are then given as a choice to the Inquisitor to either join the Inquisition or to be exiled. The surviving Warden or Hawk decide to head to the Grey Warden's original HQ fortress, Weishaupt, in the Anderfels. The next major event is a diplomatic mission to the Winter Palace in Orlais, where peace talks are being held to end the Orlesian Civil War as witnessed initially in Masked Empire. And during the Grand Ball, the Inquisition uncovers a plot against Empress Selene, orchestrated by an agent of Corypheus. The Inquisitor must navigate the game to protect the Empress and influence the outcome of the Civil War. Depending on your decisions, Selene may survive or perish, and the war may end with different leaders in power. Selene alone, Selene with her elven lover Briala, Gaspard ruling alone, Gaspard ruling as Briala's puppet, or a truce among all 3. With the political situation in Orlais stabilised, the Inquisition gains the support of powerful Orlesian forces, and Morrigan, who has been advising Empress Selene on matters of the occult, now joining the Inquisition. As a last-ditch effort to gain more power, Corypheus retreats to the Arbor Wilds, where the Inquisition discover an ancient elven temple of Mafal. Inside, they meet Abalas, a guardian who reveals that the elves' downfall was actually due to their own internal conflict, not mankind. TEVINTER only exploited the aftermath. If Solas is present, he will tell Abalas that there is another place for him and their people yet linger, whatever that means. Deep within the temple lies the Well of Sorrows, which contains the knowledge of Mafal, an elven god, the Allmother of the elven pantheon. The Inquisitor, or Morrigan, must drink from the well, binding themselves to Mafal's will in exchange for its power to defeat Corypheus. Interesting tidbit, when the Inquisitor drank from the well, they heard an ancient voice whisper, "Mafal speaks the calling," which directly links Mafal to the Blight. Whoever drank from the well, Flemeth, our legendary Witch of the Wilds, reveals herself as Mafal, claiming that she grants the elven goddess the justice that was denied to her. All this time, right amongst us, an elven god, or at least an aspect of an elven god, pulling the strings of the Dragon Age. Now, if Morrigan performed the Dark Ritual in Origins with your Warden or Alistair or Loghain, she now has a child called Kieran who is 10 years old. This child carries the old god's soul, Femiel, from the 5th Blight. If that is the case, Flemeth locates him through Morrigan's Alluvian, and Flemeth gives Morrigan a choice. Leave Kieran with her and be free, or take him back and continue to be hunted. Of course, Morrigan chooses her son, and as Flemeth touches Kieran, a glow transfers Femiel's soul from him to her. Flemeth reassures Kieran there will be no more dreams, but he later feels lonely. Morrigan notes that Kieran's destiny is now in Flemeth's hands. If Morrigan never had a son, Flemeth told Morrigan that a soul is not forced upon the unwilling, and that she was never in any danger from her. In a desperate final act, Corypheus reopens the breach in a last attempt to destroy Phaedus. The Inquisition tracks him down for a final confrontation, where they ultimately defeat him and close the breach breach for good. However, the elven orb he used to open the breach, the one that Solas really wanted preserved, got destroyed amidst the fight. And back at Skyhold, Solas mysteriously disappears. In a post-credit scene, Flemeth sent a piece of herself into an Illuvian before she met with Solas, our elven apostate mage, who Flemeth addressed as the Dread Wolf, the ancient elven god of betrayal and rebellion, who created the Veil and locked away the other elven gods. Solas expresses regret for failing his mission and that the people need him, and so he absorbed an unknown quantity of Flemeth's power so he can continue his scheme as she fell to the ground. More on that one in a minute. In the Jaws of HAKKON DLC, the Inquisitor ventures into the Frostback Basin, a wild region inhabited by the Avar tribes, to uncover the fate of the last Inquisitor, Emeriden. Professor Bram Kenrick of the University of Orlais invites the Inquisitor to assist in his research after discovering clues about Emeriden's mysterious disappearance. The region is home to two Avar factions, the friendly Stone Bearhold and the hostile Jaws of HAKKON, who harbour dangerous ambitions. Through their investigation, the Inquisitor learns that Emeriden was sent by Emperor Dracon to stop the original Jaws of HAKKON from invading the lowlands. The Hakkonites had bound their god spirit, Hakkon Winter's Breath, to a high dragon, posing a dire threat during the Second Blight. Emeriden successfully froze both himself and the dragon in time to prevent the invasion. However, the modern Hakkonites plan to revive Hakkon and continue their ancestors' mission. With the help of the Stone Bear Hold, the Inquisitor assaults the Hakkonite fortress and defeats their leader Gerd Harifson, preventing the ritual. Emeriden is briefly freed before time catches up with him, but the dragon escapes. The Inquisitor ultimately confronts and kills the dragon, freeing Hakkon's Winter's Breath from his long confinement. In Dragon Age: The Descent DLC, the Inquisitor investigates mysterious earthquakes shaking the Storm Coast, threatening lyrium trade with the dwarves of Orzammar. Accompanied by Volta, a dwarf shaper, and Ren, a Legion of the Dead lieutenant, the Inquisitor ventures deep into the Deep Roads. Volta believes that the quakes are caused by a titan, a colossal being, while Ren remains skeptical but agrees they must find the source. As they delve deeper, they encounter the Sharbratol, strange dwarven enemies guarding massive hidden caverns filled with untapped lyrium and a subterranean ecosystem. Volta discovers ancient lyrium etchings that describe the titans and the Sharbratol, but when they reach the deepest cavern, they find no titan. The Inquisitor realizes that the titan is not visible because they are inside it, suggesting that the entire environment is part of the titan itself. In the mission's climax, Volta inadvertently attacks the Inquisitor with strange magic, revealing she's been purified by the titan's influence and wishes to stay and study it. The Inquisitor is left with more questions than answers, and when asked what to report to the Shaperite, Volta suggests simply telling the truth. They don't know. The Inquisitor leaves Volta behind, pondering the mysteries of the Titans and the Dwarves further. In the Trespasser DLC, or in other words, the Wolf Hunt DLC, set 2 years after Inquisition in 944 Dragon, the Inquisitor arrives back at the Winter Palace for the Exalted Council, where Orlais and Ferelden debate the very fate of the Inquisition. While navigating political tension, which is certainly not new to the Inquisitor, all former companions reunite. However, the council is soon interrupted by the discovery of a dead Qunari warrior inside the palace, leading the Inquisitor to investigate a mysterious trail that ultimately leads to an Illuvian and into the Crossroads, a mystical network of pathways connecting to different worlds. Following the trail through the Illuvians, the Inquisitor discovers a conspiracy involving the Qunari, who have been secretly infiltrating Phaedus. They encounter various Qunari forces and uncover that the Qunari are using the ancient elven ruins to further their invasion. The investigation leads the Inquisitor to the Elven Mountain ruins and other hidden locations, where they learn more about the history of the elven god Fen'Harel, the Dread Wolf, and his rebellion against the other Evanuris, revealing that he is not a deity of myth, but a powerful mortal. In the Deep Roads, the Inquisitor learns of a Qunari plot called Dragon's Breath, intended to destroy southern Thedas by using a dragon-powered Gatlock bomb. A former Qunari agent named Jeren reveals details of this plot, and the Inquisitor must navigate a treacherous environment filled filled with Qunari forces to thwart their plans. This section acts as a race against time as the Inquisitor's party battle Qunari soldiers and dangerous traps in an effort to prevent the catastrophic plan from succeeding. While exploring the Deep Roads, the Inquisitor may discover a mural that reveals the exact moment when Fen Harel decided to rebel against the elven gods after witnessing their greed and tyranny. It depicts the death of a titan, a pivotal event that spurred Fen Harel to rise against the Pantheon. From that moment, he dedicated himself to freeing elven slaves, establishing safe havens, and revealing the truth about the gods' corruption. Most importantly, he removed elven slaves Valasleen, liberating many of them who joined his revolt. The Inquisitor can also find Veilfire runes that describe Mafal striking down a titan and the Evanurus waging war against the titans, mining their bodies for lyrium and something else. When Cole witnesses this, he comments, "They made bodies from the earth, and the earth was afraid. It fought back, but they made it forget." Another tidbit, a Qunari agent discovered statues of Fen Harel protecting Mafal in the Deep Roads, and questioned why ancient elves were in dwarven territory. The agent noted the dwarves' fear of the sun, likened to Elganan's fire, suggested it symbolized the elves driving the dwarves underground. The notes concluded with a poem about Mafal giving the dwarves dreams. Returning to the Winter Palace, the Inquisitor informs their advisors of the Qunari's intentions. However, it becomes apparent that there is a traitor within the Inquisition aiding the Qunari. Further investigations lead the Inquisitor to the Shattered Library, where they confront the Qunari leader, the Vidasala. The Vidasala reveals her mission to subjugate the South, but also mentions that an agent of Fen Harel has been sabotaging her plans. The Archivist Spirit in the library revealed that, in his quest for revenge, Fen Harel tricked and banished all the elven gods besides Mafal, creating the veil to separate the waking world from the dreaming one. This act shattered the Elven Empire, dividing their reality. The final words of survivors recorded their despair, questioning how the Dread Wolf could create the veil that silenced the gods and left their cities crumbling without magic. They expressed anger and determination to tear down the veil, blaming Fen Harel for turning their once great empire into ruins. The final confrontation takes place in the Darvarad, a Qunari stronghold where the Inquisitor faces off against the Qunari forces and potentially the Iron Bull, who may betray the Inquisitor if certain conditions were met earlier in the game. After a fierce battle, the Inquisitor can either kill or free a dragon being used by the Qunari. The DLC concludes with a confrontation between the Inquisitor and Solas, who reveals that after Corypheus' defeat, he built a network of spies, including those within the Inquisition, eventually uncovering a Qunari plot to invade southern Thedas. Using his power and knowledge, Solas had discreetly guided the Inquisitor to disrupt the Qunari plan, all while avoiding their pursuit as they mistook him for an agent of Fen Harel, not Fen Harel himself. Once the Qunari threat was neutralized, Solas confronted the Inquisitor, revealing his true identity as Fen Harel if the Inquisitor had gathered enough evidence. He explained his reasons for creating the veil, punishing the Evanurus as they murdered Mafal, who was a voice of reason, someone who he deeply cared for. And then he explained his plan to restore the world of the elves by destroying the veil, which would reap massive consequences for Thedas. In a tense conversation, Solas admitted to giving Corypheus the Orb of Destruction, as it was actually Solas's orb to begin with, expressing regret over its misuse. Despite the Inquisitor's attempt to sway him, Solas remained resolute in his mission to dismantle the veil, believing it necessary for elven restoration. Solas revealed that he had killed Felasan, his agent from Mast Empire, after Felasan had failed to provide the password of the Illuvian network. As a result, Solas was forced to override it manually, meaning he now has complete control. As the Inquisitor suffered from the deteriorating anchor, Solas either gently or harshly removed it, depending on their relationship. Before departing, Solas warned the Inquisitor of the inevitable corruption within the Inquisition, using the presence of spies and the Qunari as proof. The DLC ended with Solas reaffirming his path, leaving the Inquisitor to grapple with the looming conflict and the future of Thedas, as well as what they would like to do: seek to redeem or aim to stop him. Following that, in the Dragon Age Magekiller comic, set during Inquisition, mercenaries Tessa and Marius specialise in killing blood mages. Hired to eliminate a Maleficar in Hercenia, they rescue a hostage and meet Flavius, a slave of Magister Illeneva. She recruits them to stop blood mages performing child sacrifices. Reluctantly returning to Tevinter, Marius and Tessa are ambushed by Archon Radonis, forcing them to assassinate Venatori leaders, including Marius's former lover, Calpurnia. After surviving hit squads, they join the Inquisition. In the Hissing Wastes, they team up with Dorian and the Bull's charges to defeat the Venatori. At Skyhold, they both pair off together and fight against a demon. Reunited with the Inquisition, they renew their mission to save the world. And then we have Dragon Age Absolution, the Netflix show, which so far has only had one season, and the story centered around the Circulum Infinitus, a powerful artifact capable of resurrection, which a group of mercenaries, including the elf rogue Miriam, attempted to steal on behalf of the Inquisition. The heist went awry, however, due to Hera's betrayal, revealing her allegiance to the Crimson Knight, who was later confirmed to be Knight Commander Meredith from Dragon Age 2, now encased in pure red lyrium. The season ended with Hera escaping with the Circulum, undoubtedly to give to the Crimson Knight in person. In the comic Dragon Age Knights Errant, set in 944 Dragon, Sir Aaron Hawthorne and his elven squire Vaya arrived in Kirkwall to attend the ceremony for the new Viscount Varric Tefrus and deliver King Alistair's congratulations. While Varric personally welcomed them and took them to their inn, Vaya secretly met with Sir Nevin Faramore, a Templar, who hired her to steal a box of bribes from the gallows. Vaya successfully retrieved the box, but was later confronted by Charter from the Inquisition, who warned her that stealing from Templars was serious, but offered assistance if she helped rescue two Inquisition agents, Marius and Tessa from Magekiller, who were held in Starkhaven. Despite initial reluctance, Vaya agreed after Sir Aaron's comments about making a difference. In Starkhaven, Vaya helped Marius and Tessa escape and learned they were trying to steal notes on a red lyrium weapon from Prince Sebastian. Although Vaya hesitated at first, she decided to retrieve this journal after overhearing Sir Aaron's story. Amidst the chaos at the party, where Professor Cedric Marquette and Venatori agents were causing disturbances, she managed to steal it. Sir Aaron confronted Vaya but understood her motives, fighting off the Venatori while she escaped with the journal. They returned to Charter and Varric outside Starkhaven, where Vaya decided to investigate Tevinter for the Inquisition. Honouring his pledge to follow her, Sir Aaron joined her on this mission while Vaya tossed her wineskin aside as they departed. In the comic Dragon Age Deception, Olivia Pride, a failed actress turned con artist, arrived in Ventus with her Mabari Autumn to target Calix Quintara, the son of a reclusive Magister. Posing as Magister Eramis, Olivia intended to investigate rumours of Quintara's involvement with the Venatori. She tracked Calix to a tavern and noticed Sir Aaron Hawthorne, an old acquaintance and former lover, talking with Dorian Pavis. Olivia and Calix soon discovered they were both con artists and decided to settle their rivalry with a contest. Whoever could con an item out of a predetermined target first would win. They chose Francesca and Florian Invidus as their targets. After a series of deceptions and a confrontation with Florian, Sir Aaron agreed to help them in exchange for retrieving the Quintara estate floor plans for his associate Vaya. Andratia and Viago de Riva, talons of the Antivan Crows, were also in Ventus, retrieving a ledger from the city's vaults. While infiltrating the Quintara estate, Vaya and her team discovered that the red lyrium weapon they were searching for was actually the red lyrium idol from Dragon Age 2. They also learned that the supposed Magister Quintara was actually Gaius, an elven imposter working for Fen'Harel. Gaius had mistakenly sold the idol to Shirylus, a Venatori mage killer from House Daenerys, falsely believing Shirylus to also be an agent of Fen'Harel. As Qunari forces invaded the estate, Olivia sacrificed herself to ensure the group's escape. The team successfully fled, with Dorian meeting them outside the city. Calix invited Francesca to join them, revealing his true name as Calix Pride. side. Varya and Sir Aaron discussed their past and acknowledged the need to focus on their mission as they continued their pursuit of the Red Lyrium idol, heading for Castellum Tenebris. In the comic Dragon Age Blue Wraith, following their mission to locate Castellum Tenebris and the Red Lyrium idol, Varya, Sir Aaron, Marius and Tessa confronted Qunari pursuing Cedric Marquette, who had been hired by Magister Daenerys. After Francesca Invidus eliminated the remaining Qunari, she left the group for Fort Viridan, and Varya decided to follow her to ensure her safety and gain her assistance. Varya and Autumn caught up with Francesca near Fort Viridan, where Francesca initially rejected their help but changed her mind upon learning that her father had been abducted by the Blue Wraith. Varya offered to track him, and when they encountered Fenris, the Blue Wraith, Varya intervened in a confrontation between Francesca and Fenris, who was tracking the man who took Magister Invidus. Fenris refused to guarantee Francesca's father's safety, but allowed Autumn's tracking skills to aid his mission. At Magister Nenelius's estate, they discovered Qunari led by Vidasala interrogating elven slaves. After a fierce battle, they learned of Nenelius's location and helped the rest of the gang. In the aftermath, Francesca was forced to kill her own father to save Fenris. Varya supported Francesca in her grief, and Sir Aaron praised Varya's efforts, sharing another story as they continued their mission towards Castellum Tenebris. In the final comic of this run, Dragon Age Dark Fortress, Varya and her group journeyed towards the castle. Just outside Neramenian, Varya kept watch as Sir Aaron struggled with nightmares of the Battle of Ostagar. Despite Varya's concern and offer to talk, Sir Aaron dismissed her and returned to sleep. The next day, while Tessa gathered information on infiltrating Tenebris, Varya expressed her concerns about Sir Aaron's troubled state, while Marius noted that Sir Aaron was haunted by a sense of failure rather than the act of killing. Fenris, meanwhile, revealed that Sir Aaron appeared burdened by the weight of his past actions. At a local tavern, Varya prevented Fenris from killing Tractus Daenerys, Magister Daenerys' bastard son, urging him to stay alive for information on the fortress. With Sir Aaron's support, they left Tractus for the Qunari and proceeded to Castellum Tenebris. Magister Nenelius, Professor Marquette, and Shiralis prepared for the ritual as both Qunari and our heroes stormed the fortress. Marquette examined the Red Lyrium sword, crafted from the Red Lyrium idol, which would then be used to transform Shiralis and infuse him. Marquette reminded Nenelius of their agreement. He was to keep the Red Lyrium idol for studying after this experiment. Shiralis entered a sarcophagus as Marquette placed the Red Lyrium sword inside. Fenris and Varya broke the dragon's shackles, hoping it would flee, but Nenelius revealed that Daenerys had magically bound the beast. Daenerys then commanded the dragon to attack the sarcophagus with fire, triggering the ritual as Shiralis became the Red Wraith in a very similar ritual to Fenris. Nenelius announced that with the Red Wraith and the dragon under his control, they would lead the Venatori to victory, starting with the Qunari. During the battle, Varya killed Magister Nenelius, helped bury the Red Lyrium sarcophagus, and witnessed Sir Aaron's death and his final request for her to be made a knight. Devastated, Varya decided to return Sir Aaron's remains to Portsmouth, with Fenris, Francesca and Autumn accompanying her. As they journeyed south, Varya shared stories of Sir Aaron's past, including how he acquired his horse from Grand Duke Gaspard de Chalon. Cedric Marquette escaped with the Red Lyrium idol, intercepted by Tractus Daenerys, who threatened him for it. Observing through his network of Illuvians, Solas watched over Tractus Daenerys as he carried the idol, heading for Navarra. Next up, in the anthological novel Dragon Age TEVINTER Nights, we have 15 short stories to look at. In 3 Trees to Midnight, Mirian, a former slave from Ventus who became a mage, and Strife, a Danish elf, were captured by the Qunari as they continued to invade over Phaedus. The two were forced to work in the Alvan Forest. Despite initial hostility, the two collaborated to escape with the help of Irelen, a shape-shifting Dalish mage. After fleeing into the forest, the group found refuge with a Dalish clan. Sarabrak, the Qunari huntsmaster, revealed himself as Sarabrak of the Ben Hasrith, who had been sent to investigate the Qunari's actions in Ventus following this unsanctioned invasion. After confirming the irregularities of the invasion, he allowed the escapees to go. The three all headed to Strife and Ireland's Dalish clan camp. In Down Among the Dead Men, guardsman Ordric Felhassan, killed by a possessed corpse, was resurrected and found himself trapped between two spirits in Navarra's Grand Necropolis. Assisted by Morn Watcher Myrna, Emric Volcarin, and Manfred, Ordric confronted the Pride demon inhabiting Lord Penric Khan's corpse and discovered that his physical self had actually died in the initial attack, leaving him as a conflicted spirit. After defeating the demon, Ordric chose to remain as a Morn Watcher and was assigned to manage the necropolis's library, finding a sense of fulfillment and purpose in his new role. In the horror of Hallmark, Senior Grey Warden Ramesh led a rescue mission into the Navarran forest to find the missing Senior Warden Jorvis and his group. They discovered an untouched elven thaig in the Deep Roads, where they encountered grotesque creatures in a pool of viscous grey fluid. Ramesh found his former lover Jorvis's twisted form fused with a monstrous centipede. Jorvis, barely recognisable and controlled by the creature, warned Ramesh that the pool must be destroyed to prevent a greater catastrophe. As Jorvis lost control, Warden Lesha sacrificed herself to ensure Ramesh could escape and warn the remaining wardens. Ramesh left burdened with grief and the task of alerting his comrades to the horrors he had witnessed. In callback, Sir Donald Sutherland and his company, including the elven mage Voth and the human rogue Shade, returned to Skyhold years after Trespassers events to investigate a request about restoring the Rotunda's fresco. They found the caretakers murdered and discovered a regret demon emerging from Solas's mural, which took on the form of a wolf-dragon hybrid. The demon, a manifestation of a god's regret, was connected to an unfinished panel of the fresco. As Sutherland faced the demon alone, haunted by his regrets, his companions and others rallied to defeat it and sent it back to the Fade. Their victory was later commended by Divine Victoria, acknowledging their service and the need to move past dread and regret. In Luck in the Gardens, we have an introduction to the new treasure hunting faction known as the Lords of Fortune. Here we have the enigmatic Hollix, a master of disguise who is hired by Dorian Pavis and Miveris Talani to hunt a tentacled Lovecraftian monster called the Sekarax in Manrathus. The creature, which had been beheading several victims, was lured to the city's gardens, where it revealed a horrific array of eyeless heads. Hollix, Dorian, Miveris, and the young witness Mizzy managed to defeat the Sekarax, which Dorian speculated might be a being beyond the veil. Hollix then invited Mizzy to join the Lords of Fortune in Ravane before departing with the promise of a future visit from the girl. In Hunger, Grey Warden Evka Ivo, a dwarf from Orzammar, and new recruit Antoine, an elf from Orlais, were dispatched to escort recruits to Fortress Weishaupt. They stopped in the cursed village of Eichwell, where townsfolk had been vanishing. Investigating, they discovered that a noble's banished son, who had become a werewolf due to a demon of hunger, was behind the disappearances. The werewolf was defeated, though Antoine was bitten during the fight, both believing the curse was lifted with the beast's death. The wardens then resumed their journey to Weishaupt, as the demon of hunger still lurked, waiting for its next victim. In Murder by Death Mages, Sidoni, a Mortalitasi mage and Inquisition agent, was sent by Cassandra Pendergast to investigate a plot in Navarra involving the assassination of a member of Navarra's unstable line of succession. Upon arriving in Navarra City, she found her mentor, Lord Henrik, dead and contacted Antonia, an old acquaintance, who directed her to a party hosted by Nicholas Reinhardt. At the party, Sidoni teamed up with Cyros, a well-connected elf, to track down this assassin. However, when Nicholas discovered Sidoni and Cyros over his dead wife and wrongly accused them of the murder, Sidoni killed Nicholas and Cyros. Sidoni later learned from Antonia that she had orchestrated the deaths to consolidate Mortalitasi power over the Navarran elite. In a final confrontation, Sidoni killed Antonia before returning to Cassandra to report on the plot. In the streets of Manrathus, Nev Gallus, a private investigator in TEVINTER's capital, was hired by Otho Kalla to track his nephew Quinton Kalla, suspecting of working with the Venatori. Nev witnessed Quinton's assassination by a masked figure using blood magic and learned from him that it was almost the hour before he died. Reporting to the Templars, Nev discovered that another victim, Lady Verantus, had been similarly killed. She traced the case to a con artist, Alec Tavor, who revealed Quinton's attempts to escape the city, and a mysterious informant provided a clue about the assassin Aelia, who had taken clay discs from the victims. Nev was attacked by Aelia, who aimed to unleash a demon from below the city using blood-bound necklaces. With the help of Flavian Batteris and the Templars, Nev thwarted the ritual and imprisoned Aelia. She then informed Otho Kalla that his nephew had left the Venatori before disappearing into the streets of Menraphis. In the wigmaker job, Master Assassin Lucanus Della Morte and his cousin Ilario were sent to Tharantium to assassinate Ambaros Forfex, a Venatori blood mage and wigmaker who used red lyrium to torment slaves. After executing Ambaros, freeing the slaves, and destroying a dangerous elven artifact, Lucanus became known as the Demon among the Venatori. Despite his reputation and the anticipation of becoming the first Talon for the Antivan Crows, Lucanus wished for Ilario to take this position instead. Meanwhile, Magister Zara Renata of the Venatori plotted to exploit Lucanus's vulnerabilities to defeat him, alongside her agents Crispin Cavlo and Felicia Eramond. In Genitivi Dies in the End, brother Genitivi, Philem the Bard, and sister Lordine embarked on an expedition to uncover the true history of the Elven Pantheon, hiring Matteo, a Raveni Lord of Fortune, to assist them. Their journey led them to the Silent Plains, but their quest took a dangerous turn when Rasan, previously seen in the Silent Grove comics, revealed her mission to discover Fen'Harel's true name, which she learned was actually Pride. Rasan believed knowing this name would give her a significant advantage over Fen'Harel. She then targeted Genitivi and his companions, aiming to both track Fen'Harel and eliminate the scholars who stood in her way. In Herald Had the Plan, after a failed heist at the Grand Tourney, Barv and his elven companion Elim escaped into Starkhaven's forest, retrieving an ancient and powerful amulet despite the death of their partner Herald. They sought out Panstot, their hired guard who had stolen the legendary Celebrant sword on behalf of Lady Lucy, who promised to help find Pansdot's sister. During a skirmish with tournament knights, Pansdot was killed, Barv and Elim were gravely wounded, and Lady Lucy was captured. Barv survived only due to the amulet's healing powers, but Elim perished. Barv then delivered the amulet to Vaya, an elven squire from the knight-errant comics, who was tasked with taking it to northern Tevinter. In An Old Crow's Old Tricks, Lisuf, an elderly member of the Antivan Crows operating under the alias Old Nan, posed as a merchant in the Tevinter Imperium. Her true mission was to assassinate Tevinter centurion Sensual, who had murdered Dalish children on the orders of Magister Biclius. Lesuf successfully killed Sensual by suffocating him with a Hala leather scarf. She then eliminated Magister Biclius and avoided capture by having her servant Tainsley impersonate a Qunari. The Tevinter soldiers retreated, and Lesuf celebrated her success with Tainsley, ensuring the Oranover clan's revenge was complete. In 8 Little Talons, First Talon, Caterina della Morte, called a summit on Verdant Isle to address the looming Qunari threat, who have since invaded across the majority of Antiva and Tevinter. During the meeting, Emil Cortez, the 4th Talon, betrayed the Crows by striking a deal with the Qunari to eliminate the other Talons in exchange for his family's control over the Crows. Cortez succeeded in killing the 2nd, 3rd, and 8th Talons before Viago de River, Tia Cantori, and the remaining Crows exposed his treachery and defeated him. With the betrayal uncovered, the Qunari now prepare to fully invade Antiva, and the surviving Talons, including Viago and Tia, rushed to Antiva City to warn the royals and recruit new members. In half up front, Vadis, a former Tevinter Altus-turned-thief, was hired by a mysterious elven lady to steal a relic called Dumat's Folly, believed to be a piece of the Black City. Vadis and her partner, Irene Cestus, infiltrated the Archon's palace only to find the relic missing and suspected the Qunari had it. They followed the trail to a Qunari ship, where Vadis discovered the relic and was confronted by her client, who revealed herself as an agent of Fen'Harel. The relic turned out to be be a magical bomb intended to provoke chaos between the Qunari and TEVINTER. The agent then ended themselves, but Vadis managed to use the bomb to destroy the Davarad with minimal casualties. Gat, a Qunari Ben Hasref seen in Inquisition, later advised Vadis and Erain to seek out a dwarf in Kirkwall for further opportunities, against taking the fight back against Ven Harel. In the final story, Dreadwolf Teku, Charter, our Elven Inquisition agent, hosted a secret meeting of various spies at a tavern in Hunterfell to discuss the Dreadwolf and his red lyrium idol. That's right, it turns out this idol the entire time belongs to Solas. The gathering included a Carter assassin, an Orlesian bard, a Mortalitasi mage, and an executor agent, a mysterious benefactor who speak on behalf of powers from across the sea. The Mortalitasi mage shared a story of the Dreadwolf who appeared to her in the Fade, taking the form of a massive lupin beast with shaggy spiked hide and 6 burning eyes, coming on wings of fire that transformed into a horde of lesser demons. This formidable entity, whose presence commanded fear and respect, was the master of the Fade, where spirits served him willingly. In a display of his power, the Dreadwolf snatched up Tractus Daenerys' bastard son who had fled the scene with the idol at the end of Dark Fortress, taking it to the Grand Acropolis in Navarra for a ritual intended to send the Qunari back home. However, the Dreadwolf, having followed Daenerys, ended his life in an instant as he screamed in terror. Tensions rose in the meeting as representatives' deceitful accounts about the Dreadwolf led to an argument, culminating in the Orlesian bard revealing himself as Solas, who then killed an executor, froze the mage and the assassin, and expressed regret for his actions, asking Charter to apologise to the Inquisitor. We then have some Dragon Age Day short stories connecting a few of those plots together. In Ruins of Reality, Strife and Irelen from Free Trees to Midnight embarked on an expedition into the cursed Arlathan forest to retrieve a relic belonging to the Dalish Morlin clan. Strife quickly realised that the forest had transformed, disorientating him and warping his sense of direction. He encountered a reflection of himself pursuing the same relic, a crystal Hala figurine held by a statue of the elven goddess Gillenan. Irelin, who had been similarly affected by the forest's magic, arrived in her shape-shifted wolf form and revealed the reflection to be an illusion. She instructed Strife to act as a lure while she, transformed into an eagle, snatched the figurine from the statue. As Irelen flew away with the relic, the illusions vanished, but Strife sensed as something had gone terribly wrong in the forest. In the next one, Warden Lawrence, on his final journey in the Deep Roads, encountered a dwarven woman, Evka Ivo from Hunger, battling a blighted beast. Despite being gravely injured, Lawrence fought to protect her and promised to get her out safely. As his strength waned, he made a deal with Evka. He would save her and she would save the next one. When ghouls attacked, Lawrence's perseverance attracted a spirit that fought in his place. After the spirit released his body, Evka closed Lawrence's eyes, vowing to uphold her promise and save the next ones, marking the beginning of her journey as a Grey Warden. In Won't Know When, again, Grey Warden Evka, now with Antoine, the pair, after defeating an ogre, reminisced about past battles and challenges that they had faced together. Evka revealed that fellow Warden Durnall had gone on his calling, reminding them of the inevitable fate that awaited all Wardens. Despite the looming threat of Darkspawn and the calling, Antoine proposed to Evka, and she accepted, of course, sealing their bond with a kiss. Their love, however, remained overshadowed by the constant danger and uncertainty of their lives as Wardens. In the wake, Ilario de la Morte from the Wigmaker job, now with Viago and Tia from 8 Little Talons, mourned the loss of Lucanus at House Cantori's casino in Antiva City. A drunken Ilario, carried by Viago, reminisced about his childhood with Lucanus, recalling their adventures and the bond they shared, more like brothers than cousins. As they moved through the empty, somber casino, Ilario grew emotional, bitterly expressing that he should have been the one to die instead. Viago tried to manage Ilario's grief, eventually subduing him with a drugged handkerchief, leaving him to rest while reflecting on the weight of their loss. In Menrath's Shadows, Tarraquin, a Templar, joined a high-stakes game with a powerful Magister, revealing his true motive, exposing her involvement in the black market slave trade and dealings with the Venatori cult. As tensions rose, the Magister attempted to use magic against him, only to discover that Tarraquin had allies, including a mysterious figure known as the Viper, who had countered her spell. Lust revealing that the Viper represented a forgotten faction faction of TEVINTER, intent on taking everything, hinting at a resistance movement within Manrathus against the corrupt powers in the city. In the Flame Eternal, set in 922 Dragon, necromancers Joanna and Emmerich, who was in Down Among the Dead Men, investigated a tormented skull in Navarra's Grand Necropolis. The skull screams led them to the Crescent Fane, where Emmerich discovered it belonged to a spirit longing to reunite with its deceased wife. Placing the skull beside her body in a coffin surrounded by silver flames finally quieted the spirit. While Joanna dismissed the spirit's torment as trivial, Emmerich admired its endearing affection. The two necromancers returned to the necropolis in companionable silence, having successfully put the spirit to rest. In As We Fly, Neri and No de Actus, veteran Antivan Crows, outmaneuvered the occupying Antam forces in Treviso. As they evaded capture, they lured the brutal lieutenant Cathrata the Lash into a trap, where they used a portcullis to incapacitate him. The Crows' real objective, however, was to distract the Antam while their comrades sabotaged the enemy garrison. With Cathrata defeated and the Antam forces demoralized, the Crows continued their resistance, determined to weaken the occupation and free Treviso, all while plotting to eliminate Butcher, who led the invasion. And the last, final piece of tie-in media is Dragon Age The Missing, a comic, where Varric Tefris, the Viscount, was convinced by Inquisition's charter to join a mission to locate Solas with the help of Lace Harding. Their journey began in the Deep Roads beneath Marnus Pell, where they encountered Grey Wardens Evka and Antoine, who were investigating Darkspawn-linked disappearances. After battling Darkspawn and finding Solas's camp, they followed a lead to the Tevinter city, Verantium. There, they joined Antivan Crows, Tia and Viago in uncovering Lady Chrysanthesis's ties to the Venatori and her search for the Crucius Stone. Continuing their pursuit into the cursed Arlathan Forest, Varric and Harding faced trials alongside the Veil Jumpers, Strife and Irrelen, a new faction who confront the dangers of the Arlathan Forest. It was only then they found that Solas had already taken the Crucius Stone for his own purposes. And so finally, in Manrathus, they sought the help of Neve Gallus, who works with the Shadow Dragons, a slave opposition faction. It was there they learned that Solas had actually been freeing slaves. After defending freed slaves from a Venatori attack instead of directly chasing after Solas, Varric and Harding resolved to find a new ally to fully put a stop to him. And so the scene is set, the chest pieces are on the board, and right in the corner is Rook. The Veilguard is set in 953 Dragon, that is 9 years on from the events of Trespasser since we last saw Solas and the Inquisitor, despite of course the extended media. I will say no more than that for all of you who are going into the next game blind and just wanted all of the tie-in media and all of the game's current story and lore that is setting up the Veilguard, from the Blight predating the Veil to Flemeth's narrative that's been there since the very beginning, to Varric's sprawling journey, to the introduction of so many new characters like Strife, Evka Ivo, Irrelen, Neve Gallus, Emmerich Volcarin, and so much more. I hope that this has been a really helpful breakdown for you as you prepare to play Dragon Age The Veilguard, encompassing and comprehending as much lore and story as I have vomited at you. Do let me know all of your thoughts down below. Any lingering plot points you'd like to see answered in The Veilguard? What has this video re-emphasized for you? I'd love to hear it down below. But until the next one, I've been Jackdaw. You are in the right place for Dragon Age Taylor's version. But until then, I should go whoa.